You ever notice how in every single generation, they always try and recreate the same celebrity? Blonde hair, red lipstick, perfect smile, and somehow it always traces back to that one person quite a while ago by the name of Marilyn Monroe. But here's the problem with copying a blueprint. If you don't change it enough, you don't become the next icon. You just become the remake. And lately, I've been thinking about that while listening to artists like Sabrina Carpenter, because the real reason Marilyn became immortal has nothing to do with her blonde hair. And yes, before we go any further, I'm fully aware of the irony here, because I'm basically a commentary channel that's similar to multiple ones in this industry. So I'm sure someone's gonna already flame me for that in the comments. But honestly, it's fair. Actually, it's kind of the point. Everyone starts with a blueprint. The real question is whether you build something new off of it, or just stay in the same exact space and design forever. I'll tell you right now, I don't plan on it. Now, why does the blueprint exist? Well, people tend to repeat what works. We inherit behaviors from the generations before us. We copy what succeeded, what sold, what is considered beautiful because it's safe, it's proven, it's reinforced by culture over and over again. But that safety always comes with risk, stagnation. If everyone keeps copying the blueprint, the original will almost always be remembered as better. The difference between imitation and ownership is that it takes someone like Sabrina Carpenter, her version of their archetype leans heavily into irony. She'll wink at the camera like she's in on the joke of the dumb blonde persona. It's clever, it's modern, but there's the risk. If you don't add enough of your own DNA into the aesthetic, you eventually just become the wallpaper. You're visually perfect, but you're culturally forgettable. Now, why does Marilyn Monroe's persona work so effectively? The reason why it became so immortal is its history. It wasn't just because of how she looked, it was because of the friction in her life. She was incredibly intelligent, yet constantly underestimated. She fought the Hollywood system. She grew up in foster care. She experienced real trauma. That pain was always visible beneath the surface. Even when she was smiling in a pink dress, you could always see something deeper was in her eyes. Her beauty wasn't just the aesthetic, it was human. Modern pop stars often operate differently. Take someone like Sabrina Carpenter again. Her image works incredibly well in this age. TikTok, campy, ironic, self aware. But that kind of stardom creates something different, not a myth, a brand. And brands have a shelf life. Once the audience understands the formula, the magic behind it begins to fade. There's another danger as well to this. When you adopt an aesthetic that's tied to someone like Marilyn Monroe or Madonna, you're inviting comparison. And if you don't completely dominate that aesthetic, if you don't push it somewhere new, it starts to look like a costume, not a persona. Another thing you always see is which separates legends from technicians is that hunger. Marilyn didn't pursue fame because it was fun. She pursued it because she had to survive. Her ambition came from desperation. That desperation creates something powerful in her. Because when someone is building their career from nothing, their work isn't just entertainment, it's a testimony to who they are. Technically, Sabrina Carpenter is beyond impressive. But you see, today's perfection is everywhere. AI filters, scripted candidates, social media posts, perfectly curated brands. In a world where everything is polished, perfection becomes cheap. When I feel people are actually craving now is the opposite, the ugly, the authentic, the flaws and the cracks, the moments that feel unfiltered and real. It is in this way the industry sells perfection, but they never notice how audience always fall in love with that imperfection. People connect with the cracks in the image. That's what made Marilyn unforgettable. Her perfection was clearly a performance, and that tragedy underneath, it made the performance feel so real. It really emulates that mystery. This is common with it being well understood as the gilded cage of a Disney child star. Artists who grew up inside this perfectly managed system often struggle to create a genuine transformation later because everyone in their life has been documented, curated, and controlled. There's no mystery. And without mystery, there is no shadow. Without shadow, there is no depth. Authenticity will always win, as authenticity has a texture that branding just can't seem to replicate. Here's the funny part: the real blueprint for the future isn't the blonde hair, it isn't the vintage glamour, it isn't even the beauty. The real blueprint is the courage to be messy in front of millions of people, because perfection is forgettable, but humanity isn't. The entertainment industry will probably keep chasing this idea for perfection forever, but audiences, they'll always fall in love with the cracks in the mirror, because at the end of the day, nobody connects with perfection. They connect with the truth, and the truth almost is never pretty.